D for the same reason. And then for A, when I'm outside, I have counter magnetic fields from the lower and the upper. But again, if it's skinny enough and I have enough wires, it's going to be close enough to 0. So that is A. Magnetic field is approximately 0. And that's because this is canceling out going that way. So what I'm left with is just the magnetic field in the center. Well, if you notice, the magnetic field, the green magnetic field here is going to the left. The blue magnetic field is going to the left. The orange magnetic field is going to the left. Matter of fact, all the magnetic fields in the center are pointed in the same direction, and so we'll end up with a magnetic field going in that direction. So, I take a magnetic field in the center, and again, an ideal solenoid, this thing is infinitely large, so the magnetic field would be constant. And yes, if you're interested in the more exact formula for depending upon where you are in a finite length solenoid, email me, and I'll send you a video where I do a derivation. I'll send you a link to it. So the magnetic field in the center times whatever length that is, and I'll do something clever like just call it L. So the strength of the magnetic field inside the solenoid is going to be mu naught in number of wires times the current flowing through them divided by this length. The length is somewhat arbitrary, but in a typically built solenoid, if I double my length, I double the number of wires. If I triple the length here that I'm looking at, then I triple the number of wires. In other words, this number right here in the typical solenoid is a constant, depending upon how the manufacturing. And so I will define lowercase n to be the coil density, linear coil density. And so this becomes mu naught in times I, little n. And so we have a formula for the magnetic field at the center of the solenoid. Questions? That was not a happy report.
I wish I could take the blob there and make it like this much bigger to make it make better sense.
I did it over here. Can we, does this expand? No.
Yeah, like to better see the canceling out of the opposing directional magnetic field lines.
This is magnetic field going this way. that's any better. But here we have blue arrows and yellow arrows going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Red arrows and blue arrows going in opposite directions. Blue arrow and whatever's over here in opposite directions. And the only place where the magnetic field's going in the same direction is in the middle, where they're all going. Well, you've got this one that's traveling perpendicularly, but the net result is still not. And note that my magnetic field, my current is flowing out on the bottom, up on top, and my thumb points in the direction of the magnetic field. Same with just the single loop. I don't know what you're thinking. That's great. But what about numbers? Can we use some numbers? Sure. I'm going to make up some numbers based on this one right here. Let's say I'm going to have a current flowing through it of 2 amperes flowing through it. And let's say that the total length of it is 10 centimeters. So the total length is 10 centimeters, and I've got 200 coils. And that's all. So what is the magnetic field in the center? Well, from this information right here, if I have 200 coils over the length of 10 centimeters, then my linear coil density becomes 200 coils over 0.1 meters, or 2,000 coils per meter. And the magnetic field in the center is going to be 4 pi times 10 to the negative 7th Tesla meters per ampere times 2,000 coils per meter times the current, 2 amperes. I guess 2 amperes per coil. And working out the fancy math, you get something spectacular. So it's 4,000. This is roughly 1.26 times 10 to the negative 6th. Times 4,000. That times 4 is roughly 5 times 10 to the negative 3rd, approximately, Tesla. We now have a magnetic field of 5 millitesla, and that is something that we can measure in our lab. That's a fun lab that we do there, because when it first, it's fun for me. We first did the lab, and if you work with Mike was subjected to the older form of it. The first version of the lab, 10,000% error was probably one of the better results.
Wow. He was telling me about that yesterday.
That's okay.
He said they got something like a crazy, like 1,000 or billion% error.
Yeah, it would probably be that lab. And in retrospect, when I did it, I got absolutely spectacular results, and then the students did it, and they got horrible results, and I tried to figure out why there was such a big discrepancy. And I think what I did is I basically did some circular logic. I started out with some number, and I used that number, and eventually came back to the same number, and I thought, oh, I got the same results, as opposed to, I got the same results because I basically derived the number I started with. The newer version gets under 100%, which I think is a victory. Still, you get 80% off, and you're thinking, oh, this is horrible, and just relatively speaking, it's excellent.
He said at one point he was able to get it down to something like a 300% error, and that he felt really proud of himself for getting it down.
And he probably should. I have spent way too much time trying to figure out why that other lab didn't work. And it's still not figured out.
He said
what.
something about it was y'all didn't get the data from the manufacturer for whatever equipment it is.
Yeah, that was not the main, that would not explain
Right.
10,000% error.
That's funny.
Have a good day.
Yep, you too.